Boxing has been a huge sport for centuries, so it's not surprising it was featured very early in video games since the early days of gaming. The first boxing game was released in 1976 on the Atari system with the highly inventive name of Boxing. The game was extremely basic looking back at the time, but it was a huge hit. Then came the iconic games such as Mike Tyson's Punch-Out on the NES and the Fight Night games, both of which were extremely solid titles and still praised to this day. In recent years, boxing video games have continued to evolve, with games like Creed Rise to Glory on PlayStation VR featuring more realistic graphics and animations thanks to development in motion capture technology. But let's be honest, ever since those classic EA Fight Night titles on the PS2, there hasn't really been a heavyweight contender in the boxing genre of video games. But with EA seeing success with their UFC titles, they openly admit that a Fight Night return is off the cards until at least after UFC 5, as they say they want that game to be high quality. And this is where Undisputed, a new entry from Sheffield-based developer Steel City Interactive, can step in and become a new contender. You may know the game by its previous title, Esports Boxing Club, or ESBC, as it was due to release initially in 2021 until it was delayed. The game is making some huge claims, but one that is immediately backed up and quite frankly is impressive is the massive roster of fighters that they have, with the likes of Deontay Wilder, Alexander Usyk, Tyson Fury and Canelo Alvarez all fully licensed. Oh, and don't forget the addition of legends too, with the likes of Muhammad Ali, Sugar Ray Robinson and Rocky Marciano all playable. Another interesting addition is the crossover boxing athletes too, with Chris Cyborg, previous women's UFC champion, being a playable character, meaning we may see some interesting additions as DLC post-release. A Jake Paul appearance maybe? The game is set to release on the 31st of January on Steam as early access, but console players will have to wait much longer as there is no ETA as to when it is expected. This is due to Steel City being a small studio and they want to get the game dialed in first on PC, then look at expanding, which I think is reasonable. The studio is already facing backlash from PC users though, as Undisputed only has controller support on PC, meaning mouse and keyboard players are missing out, although saying that, I can't imagine it'd be easy playing this on mouse and keyboard. Outside of the impressive licensing, the gameplay itself definitely looks solid so far. The devs seem to have put a lot of time into fighting in the clinch, with the gameplay mechanics completely changing when one fighter starts to fight inside the pocket, unlocking a whole new choice of combinations and animations, which so far look very smooth. The animations look extremely realistic when throwing punches, with up to 60 different punch options and animations. Even small details such as your guard hand dropping slightly when a punch is thrown with your lead hand, just minor things that make a massive difference. Speaking of minor details, the opposing fighter will actually show a response when hitting the face instead of just having the head move back. Facial animations in response to being hit were on show during the trailer and looked extremely impressive. One slight criticism from myself during the footage I watched was the frequency of the flash animation whenever a shot was landed. I get it, it's there to indicate a significant shot, but I do feel like it was off-putting and maybe should only be placed in flash knockdown scenarios. I just felt like it was a bit too distracting. The developers seem to be very transparent in discussing the current state of the title, saying that there is still plenty more to come post-release after the early access. What we do know is that on day one, we will have access to 7 venues, 25 licensed boxers, a career mode and both an online and offline multiplayer mode. The game will be released in an early access state for approximately 3 months, relying on community feedback to the devs to tweak the game where necessary. The devs stated that they have a roadmap of specific plans post-launch for Undisputed, which includes more fighters, venues, game modes, esports tournaments, additional commentary teams, presenters and more, which is a very promising sign. Undisputed has put itself at the forefront of boxing titles, and everything so far points towards the title being a huge success. The only way we will know for certain is by playing the early access of the title. In the meantime, if you want to learn more about another huge game on the way, you should check out this video, where we discuss everything we know so far about the upcoming Starfield game.